So welcome to my site, everybody. My name is Paul Smyers, and I'm a country realtor out in the western part of Virginia near Waynesboro. And I talk a lot about various aspects of buying and selling, especially rural property out in the beautiful Shenandoah Valley where I live. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the value that you can bring to a property and the hidden values that you might see in a piece of rural property that might not catch the eye of your standard buyer. And it's very important because in the whole idea of buying a property, you have to calculate the value. In realtors, we go by some standard kind of calculations. We kind of roughly, it's really hard to actually get a comparable valuation of a property in a rural area because there's not, every property is so unique. It's not like a suburb or apartment building or something. So the thing is that we go a lot of times, for example, one of the formulas we use is roughly a square foot, the finished square foot in the house. Let's say it's 1,000 square feet and the value roughly to replace it would be $150 a square foot. Now you have like $150,000 for the house. Okay, that's a rough number. Now, in a typical scenario in a suburb, that might include your access to the water because that comes from the city, same with the septic and so on. Out in the countryside, that same house probably has a septic and well already, and those have some serious value because sometimes the well has been put in recently, or it's an expensive deep well, or maybe the septic just got refinished and so on. So, or maybe it's an older septic, same way. So, you have to think about a different calculation in terms of the value of a standard property. In Virginia, there's a lot of 2-acre zoning, and the 2-acre zoning means that it has to be one residence and no more per 2 acres. And that means you have some insulation around you. And if you find a property that's valued like, okay, let's say it's got 5 acres, well, you consider 2 acres, the septic and the well, the basic lot and the house as one package, and then you start evaluating the other characteristics of the land that might be on the property as well. Let's say, for example, if you have a 2-acre zoning and there's 10 acres, you say, okay, well, 2 acres is the lot, it's got the house on it, whatever, calculate that, and then start looking at the rest of the land, at what kind of land is it good, and all that. So that's one area to look into. Now, the thing is I'm going to talk about is things that are hidden values. For example, fencing. In the rural areas, especially in the old days, it was very common. You had some sheep or some goats or something, and you had a fence around your property. And some of the older fences are actually pretty good, or maybe in recent years it's had a fence. Well, if you want to put new fence, if it's a good fence in good condition, I mean, what does it cost to replace every foot of fencing? It might cost $10 a foot just to put in all, got to put all this posts in and string it up and the labor and all that kind of stuff and walk around the property. It's not that easy to put in fencing. If you see 1,000 feet of fencing on a property, it's like, well, you can take a little corner of it. Maybe the fencing has a little bit of breaks here and there, but let's say, for example, you have a large area of fencing and it's got like, let's say, a right angle, okay? Well, you can make a small area for your goats or chickens or whatever and just, make a little bit or extra fencing in that one corner where you can have, a small number of animals or something. You don't have to go out and repair all the fencing around the whole property. And some of these properties I've looked at, like, they've had cattle on them and there's, thousands of feet of fencing on the property. So that's one thing. Now, water's another thing, and along with it, I love to recommend books, but this is a briefly book. Recommend this book, The Art of Dowsing. Now, see, back in the old days, people had to find water, and it's very easy around Virginia to find. Okay, they got a creek, and if you go by the creek somewhere, you can follow up some of these ravines, and you find a nice spring. And a lot of times, people actually put a home right near a spring because that's how they got their water. Now, you may find a home now that has a septic and a well already, but it also has a spring. I came across a property that was 20 acres, and it had a spring-fed pond on it that fed 5 homes. 5 homes were living off that one spring. So, a spring can be a very valuable thing. You can add it, you can use it for irrigation, you can filter it, you can get clean, beautiful water, whatever. Another thing is trees. if you find trees on a property, it can be all kinds of good trees like chestnut trees or various kinds of nuts or maybe even some maple trees, maybe some good hardwoods. Maybe you need to thin them out. Maybe there's a giant huge oak in there that needs a little trimming and you can get some timber for your house and make a shed out of it and stuff. So, take a look at the trees on the property and see if there might be some really good. There might be some fruit trees even. Some of these old properties you find beautiful mini orchards laying around and, producing apples still or peaches or something. Very common. Another thing you might find out is, honey. I knew a friend who had a tree fall down her property and it turned out there's a huge big honey-filled beehive in there and wow, that was good luck. So, the soil. The soil's another big thing. If you see some really good, rich soil, maybe it's had cows on it for years and then nobody used it and just hay growing there or whatever, man, it's probably got a nice thick topsoil of good old rich soil. And, along the line, I'll recommend this little book here, Seed of Knowledge, Stone of Plenty, and it's actually talking about what they did to the seeds, but it's also had relation to the megalithic use of stones to kind of magnetize their seeds. But anyway, off the subject a little bit, but soil, the whole idea of planting, I mean, it was totally, totally important for all our ancestors. If anyone who grew food, I mean, even your cattle, I got to eat good grass, so it's sort of, a no-brainer to find land. And what they call a bottomland is at the bottom of a ravine. So you find land that's got a steep slope. Now, over the years, a lot of times the rain just keeps washing things down. And toward the bottom, near the creek, and sometimes you see these beautiful farms where there's this beautiful stream running down the valley, and all the beautiful, rich soil is right there, and the cow is there, and it's just beautiful. You can grow anything there. You see the lay of the land and how it's set up. And for example, if you have southern exposure, if you have a really good field where the sun comes up on the east and it's basically all sun all day long, well, you can put yourself some solar there. You can get, beautiful place to have a pasture or grow a garden or something like that. So the lay of the land matters, the topography and how it's slanted and sloped. It might have different variation of terrain. It's good to find a property that has a little bit of variation, maybe a little bit of woods and maybe a little bit of a stream and maybe some fields and so on. Now, a couple things here. I recommend this is an old book here, but there's lots of them like it. Landscaping and Garden Aid. Now, this is an older book, and back then, I mean, people they took it seriously. That's why they had books like this. Man, I got to do something with my land. I got to take care of it, I was sure the property was a mobile home, but the person who had lived there, they had rhododendrons and lilacs and some other perennials. They even found some asparagus there. There was an apple tree in the backyard and whole kinds of berries all over the property, just delicious raspberries. And boy, you can find a property that's already producing food. Pawpaws, fruit trees. I lived in a place one time that had like 12 apple trees and 2 peach trees and a pear tree. And boy, every year, boy, there's so much fruit that fell off the tree, we didn't know what to do with it. It was just this deer would come and get it, or just rot. So look out for some good trees. Again, Go Native. Here's another book to recommend. Go Native, about using in your garden the native flowers. Boy, you look around outside, you drive around some areas of the country, you just see incredible, beautiful wildflowers. And they're growing wild. You can find a property that's got all kinds of beautiful things growing right on it that you don't even have to plant. Nice shrub, maybe some rhododendrons, maybe some lavender or something, or somebody who once upon a time did some landscaping, or maybe there's some nice shrubs, maybe some nice herbs that you can use. People used to eat dandelions and the dandelion root. I mean, there's so many different uses of plants that are growing right on your own property. You buy in a property, you look at the land. Go look down when you're walking around the property and see what's growing there. You see? And berries, you can have enough berries to feed, like, man, you can make 500 pies. Shade gardens, again, you need a variety of terrain on your property. It's always good to have a little bit of shady area. And there's certain kinds of plants that like to favor a shady area. And here's a little book about how to manage a shady area. Put some flowers in, bring color to your property. Make your property look really beautiful. Just, Now, a little bit off the subject about the journey that people have. Once upon a time, we all lived, all our ancestors lived near the land and on the land, and they had to deal with everything. And it was an inward journey too, because all the stresses of life and all the encounters with nature, and it was spooky. Just imagine just living every single day out in the forest, basically. You have maybe a teepee or some kind of a hut or something. And this little book here, I just recommend here. I haven't read it all, but I browsed through it a little bit, and it's a beautiful book about the journey, the inward journey that a lot of people find when they go back to nature and go back to homesteading and so on. Another quick book here, Ceremonial Circle. A lot of people regard going back to the land as being going back to their ancestors, to the harmony, their singing together and sitting around a fire circle and telling stories and so on. So that's a big part of the land. And again, if you want to buy land that has some atmos, some basically there's a certain vibe. You walk around a piece of land and you just feel like, yeah, maybe I belong here, or this is a beautiful place. And as a realtor, I can't buy everything, and I don't want to buy everything, even if I could. So I get to see a lot of different properties, and there's certain properties I get to walk around and I go, wow, man, whoever gets this property, they're just gonna, lucky. Pond builders, again, a pond, it doesn't even have to be a very big pond. You can by 10 feet. And it can attract all kinds of birds and bees and insects and everything, a whole ecosystem and the plants. You can have fish in a pond. It's just a really wonderful thing to do. If you find a property that has a pond, a lot of people don't want to maintain a pond, and after many years, a spring-fed pond can get filled in with different kinds of plants and so on, and cattails and so on. But again, you can clean it out, and the fish like to hide down in the weeds down there, and the frogs and so on. So it's a good way to add wildlife and a lot of interest to your property. Also, I get people who ask whether there's a pond on the property. Well, yeah, no is usually the answer. Most of the properties don't have a pond, but you can make one. So that's another really good feature, that you ever to see a pond, even a small pond on a property. It's a big bonus. Now, a couple more things here along the same line. Water gardening. I have a place on my property that I'm going to put a little bit of a pond. It's not going to be very big, but again, maybe it's going to be 10 feet wide, the widest, and maybe 20 feet long, kind of in a little bit of a ravine. But it's in an area of the property that a deer will come, and it's private and everything. And my guests at my hip camp will also love to have it there. So again, water gardening. Now, a little bit of everything when I make these videos, and I really appreciate people watching and sharing. I'm a big fan of real estate and the countryside. I've lived in many places. I've traveled quite a bit and been in New York City more times than I want to remember. Same with a lot of other cities. But a lot of people I find are moving out to the countryside because elderly people like myself, I'm 71 in 2023, and a lot of people say, hey, I want a simpler life and it's less stressful, and the house is maybe one level and I don't have to go up and down stairs or deal with traffic or parking. It's beautiful here. And a lot of young people, I have children in my 30s, late 30s, and they love the country life, and the two boys especially want to do homesteading and gardening and so on, because it's a very, very authentic old way of living with the land. I know everybody can't be a big farmer these days, but you can do something for yourself to make yourself feel a little more self-sufficient and proud of yourself. And also, it's a wonderful way to bring up children. If you have young children and they get to grow up, and maybe you only have a few tiny little goats, or maybe you have a dog and a cat, and you get to see the possums and other animals and the deer on your property. I mean, it's just a fascinating, beautiful experience. I really am a big fan of the homestead country living. I'm not a farmer myself, and I won't be, but I do some various things around my property, and I've lived in a rural area for most of my adult life. And when I was growing up, I grew up in the mountains, so very familiar with outdoors. So again, thanks again for listening. I pretty much like and share. I have a lot of other videos on many other different subjects regarding buying and selling property. I live in the Shenandoah Valley. My name is Paul Smyers. There's some contact video here. You can contact me. I love helping people find property. and guide them in a way wherever it happens to be. If I make a commission or not, it's still very rewarding for me to respond to people and help them and give them some important information so they can make a good wise decision for themselves and their family. So thanks again.